clock is correct, it's off, so I apologize for not starting on time. My name is Ella McRae. I'm a community builder for Seattle Housing Authority in High Point. But today I'm here as co-chair of the Southwest Precinct Police Advisory Council, Community Advisory Council. As you guys are noticing, we're missing a beautiful smiling face. Jennifer Satterwhite, if you've been to these meetings before, she had her baby. You noticed from the last meeting she had a little baby bump. So nice to have a card inside that big bag if you wanted to send your well wishes. And Thursday I'm going to do a bib decoration during my art. If you want to come and decorate a bib, I think it's good to honor transitions in life and celebrating new life. So today we have Matt, who can introduce himself, who's going to be stepping in for Jennifer while she's out on maternity leave. Do you want to introduce yourself, Matt?
Absolutely. Hey everyone, I've met some of you before, many new faces. Wanted to introduce myself. My name is Matt Brown. I'm the Crime Prevention Coordinator at South Precinct, and obviously because of the amazing thing that happened with Jennifer, I will be filling in for her while she's on maternity leave. So if you go to any of these meetings, you're going to see a lot of me, and I just want to say welcome and thank you for being here. That happened very suddenly. Everyone's healthy, everyone's happy, but because of that, there was a lot of last-minute kind of preparation. And so as we kind of figured this out, I really do want this to mostly be about the community, asking questions, and then of course having a community meetings kind of direct where that kind of goes from there. So as we go forward, Ella has been gracious enough to kind of assist me and help me out in kind of guiding what this meeting looks like, because I know that Jennifer does that in the past and does it very amazingly. I'll try not to mess it up. But, think we'll be all right?
We have a lot of experienced people sitting in front of us. And so how we normally start off, if you're new to one of these meetings, is our community leads will introduce themselves, their name, the community, the aspect of West Seattle that they're representing. And if you have a favorite Mariners player, since we're supporting the Mariners across the city today, if you can say that. So I'm going to
start with me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, no. Well, I know the Mariners are playing. My name is Robin Fritz. I'm representing Alki Community Council tonight. And hi, I saw you the other day on Alki. Welcome to the neighborhood. One quick plug for us. We are starting a native plant project along the Alki Trail with permission from Parks. So anybody who wants to join us, we will join you on your planting projects. Thank you. We're happy to be here tonight.
All right, stand up.
Yes.
I'm Dave Foss. I'm from Fauntleroy, and the Mariners are up 6-1 in the ninth, so that's outstanding. Cal Riley, probably, it's an easy one.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Porter. I'm the Executive Director for the West Seattle Chamber of Commerce. We're a membership-driven economic development organization that serves the entire West Seattle Peninsula. And my favorite sports player for the Mariners is Ken Griffey Jr.
All right, just bring it back to my
Hi, my name is Leroy Miller. I'm the Public Safety Coordinator for South Park, representing South Park. From Seattle Neighborhood Group, we do community organizing and education around crime prevention and public safety. And my favorite Mariners players are the Mariners players. I'm promotable.
Hi, my name is Crystal Brown. I'm the Executive Director for Cultivate South Park, obviously in South Park. We do arts programming, business development, food bank. We run a 100-year-old, 4,000 square foot hall. Come visit us. South Park is lovely. We'd love to see you. My favorite Mariners player past, obviously Ken Griffey Jr. Current, I'd have to say Randy or Rosarena.
My name's Kate Kirkpatrick. I'm just here representing Highland Park, Riverview, South Orange. Just, I don't know anything about baseball, but I always like to teach it all.
My name's Pete Spalding. I represent the Pitcher Point neighborhood, and the Mariners just scored 2 more runs. They're up now 8-1, top of the ninth. And my favorite player right now is J.P. Crawford because he's having a great game 3.
Hi, my name is Chris Mackay. I'm the Executive Director of the West Seattle Junction Association. And I have to admit, I don't pay a lot of attention to sports until like they start winning, and then I'm like, and the reason is because so many of my friends love the Mariners, and then I'm so happy for them that I feel like I need to pay attention. So I was actually watching earlier today.
Practice here.
I really love them. I just
Couldn't tell you their name.
I'm really hoping they win, and I'm super excited. That's terrible.
It's all right, you're not alone. Hey, I'm Deb Barker, I'm the president of the Morton Community Association. We're a all-volunteer neighborhood group at the intersection of California and Fauntleroy, and I also volunteer my brains out. So you saw me at my walking tour.
I did, but I
Yeah.
was driving by
The
or
Southwest Hill Historical Society has historical walking tours, and I do the Alpine one occasionally. I learned so much during that tour. Anyway, my favorite player has two positions. Dan Wilson from the old Mariners team.
Yeah.
He's a coach, so, yeah, so, yay, Dan man.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Morless, Senior Property Manager for the Seattle Housing Authority, representing High Point. And my favorite Mariners player has got to be Ichiro.
I also wanted to honor elected officials and those associated with them in the audience, if they don't mind standing up and introducing themselves. There's at least one of them.
Hi, my name is Eric Schmidt. I'm Councilmember Salka's District Director.
And I believe, did Rachel leave that?
Oh,
You.
me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rachel Wallman, the precinct liaison for Southwest Precinct.
Thank you. And next up, we have update from, this is the first time I'm meeting him, but some of you guys have met him, one of our lieutenants from the Southwest Precinct, Lieutenant Wes Collier. Did I say your last name?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Evening, everyone. Lieutenant Wes Collier. I'm newly assigned to the Southwest Precinct. Thank you all for having me. I'm here to join Matt and Rachel to answer any questions you all may have, and also get to know each and every community just a little bit better. So I'll be here all the entire time, and hopefully that's anything.
We have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite
Favorite
player?
Mariners?
Yeah, I have to do a toss between Ichiro and Kimber. Yes.
Can't go wrong there.
Can't go wrong with there. So this is really a community-driven question and answer. I know there was a recent transition with not Jennifer. Sometimes we'll do like broad spectrum data, what's happening in the Southwest Precinct. If any of you guys go to your local community safety meetings, you do know you should be getting data at that. This is about being community-centered resolution and solving things that we're noticing across the Southwest. So if there's any questions, I can start with our community leads of any topics that you want us to bring forth to talk about that's impacting the Southwest. I invite you guys to kick us off. Go for it.
Yeah, top of our mind, and I know Rachel and I have been working on this, and I've spent a lot of hours with the West Side Shelter. And it's a really challenging, very challenging and complicated situation. You know, we have an organization that is putting their heart forward and doing an amazing amount of work completely on volunteer hours and donated materials and donated money. But at this point, it's pretty clear that they're in way over their heads and that the impact on the community has been extreme. And we are seeing that all the way up into the junction, but like particularly around the businesses that surround that shelter. Rachel and I were there on Sunday at the open house. It was a pretty heated discussion there. I know that the staff there felt very attacked, but it really is out of hand, and they know that it's out of hand. They know that they're in over their heads at this point. And, you know, just to give you an idea, the Friday before, I brought in a person who was with an organization that does intervention. And we talked for about an hour in my office, and then I said, let's just walk and there were 4 people there who were in the midst of their fentanyl slump. And she's really clear, really direct, really just right there. And she's like, hey, you know, like, how you doing, what's your name, where are you from, you know, trying to get some information out of them. But all of them had been to the shelter for breakfast. And so then we continued down, and another half block down is another person in fentanyl slump and had been at the shelter for breakfast. And then another half block, another person, and another half block, another person, all in the same condition. And then we get to the shelter itself, and there's a person passed out on the bench. And then we end up interacting with 2 people who are not on drugs. And you know, and she said, you know, a lot of these people are coming from really far away now. And Everett, Renton, Burien, all over the place. And so it's not just the West Seattle neighborhood that is being supported here. And what was pretty clear to her was that with the breakfast, you know, that, I mean, let's face it, people who are going to prey on the vulnerable, the homeless, are going to come in there and start offering drugs. And so what it seems like now is that there's a lot of drugs being offered in addition to the pancakes, and that the shelter itself does not have the capacity to deal with this. So, you know, when I called SPD, I was like, how many times have you been called to this shelter? And Jennifer's like, I can't give you that information. And I'd love to know why, but I'd love to know, I don't know, how many people are being called there? What's really going on? And the other thing is, like, Keith made it really clear, he's not gonna shut it down. And we can't do a nuisance property because it's a nonprofit. And so, and I don't even know if shutting it down is the right thing when you go in and you see the people who really do need help, who are truly homeless, who are really challenged individuals and not drug addicted. But even those who are drug addicted, right? I am in the midst of a torn situation here, feeling like the need to be a humanitarian individual and the need to protect the businesses and the safety of our community. And, you know, so Rachel and I have had this conversation a lot. I'm sure probably a lot of you have as well. It's a really, really challenging situation. And I can tell you that one thing Keith did say to me and to Rachel was that he would be more than happy to step aside and let another organization who has the professional wherewithal to take care of this, to step in and take care of it. But nobody's doing that. Now, he said he's talked to every single organization in the city, and whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, but nobody has stepped up to say that they would help. I have heard from some people that said he's very difficult to work with, and they didn't want to work with him. But now, he's at the point now because of health reasons and stress and bandwidth, and he's like, just anyone come in and help. But he will not stop doing what he's doing, even though they're at, like, they had originally started out doing like 21 breakfasts a day. You guys, they're like 81 now. And they have identified 67 individuals living in our community now that are extremely challenged. And then I went down to the encampment. Have you been down there?
You talking about Camp Long?
Yeah, down by the golf course?
Yeah.
35th? Yeah, I walked in there. There's like 35 tents down there now. And a lot of the individuals I see in Junction Plaza are there. Yeah, so I'm, you know, I don't really know. I can only observe right now and say, like, because he's not willing to quit what I feel like I need to do, and I had this conversation with Eric and Saka the other day, like, who in the city can help us bring in the resources we need and the security we need so that this whole thing is operated right? Because Tim and Keith will tell you firsthand and honestly, we need help and we need security, but what we won't do is just shut the doors on all these people in need. And so that's...
I would love to get space for SPD and also our CSOs to kind of share about some of the response that they do to work concerning situations like this.
Yeah, so thank you for that. This is a new development for me. I learned more about it just now when you explained it to me, and I brought to me this morning by Matt. I think the best step for SBD is try to build a relationship first with Tim and try to learn exactly what the goal is. And I understand what you're saying, like you're between a rock and a hard space, like you don't want the place to shut because you want it to be a great community, but you want it to be safely run and you don't want it to negatively affect the rest of the neighborhood. You mentioned something regarding wanting to know how many times SBD responded to that location. We can get you that information as well via public disclosure request. So I'll work on that for you as well. Matt, you know a little bit more about the situation than me, so I'll hand it over to you right now.
Sure. So just some quick clarifying things in general from SBD's side of it. When we get called, we go out there and enforce as we're able to. It being a shelter by itself, we do need general collaboration with Keith and everybody, and I think for the most part we get that. It's just difficult because people are trying to get support first and foremost. What I've heard and what would really impact our ability to best support the community is having a clear support system for Keith, because I think you are correct. I think that they have a good heart and they're trying to do a great thing, but it feels like the need is outweighing maybe their, at least from my personal perspective, the ability to do that. Maybe I'm incorrect. I am still relatively new at all of the minutiae of this, but that's been my perspective.
I just want to share one thing, two things actually. I volunteered with Keith because, and this goes back 6 months when he was hitting the wall, and I walked in one day, I said, how are you? He says, I don't know. Cindy, for those of you who know Cindy Parker, her comment was, Keith needed to have an intervention years ago, and they missed their opportunity. Keith has specific times when he will open the shelter overnight, and when it's hot and cold, and we're going to be getting the cold temps coming in, and that's something he feels so strong about. It's in his core, he feels it so strongly. I volunteered to do his shopping and supplies, and I don't know who's doing that now, but I felt that was one way I could help. But the board is all volunteer, and it's small, and
It's his family.
And there are others in the community, but it is small. And the thing is, though, as we all know, there ain't no other place, there ain't any other shelter in West Seattle. Nothing, zero.
Actually, there is. There's across 5400 with DESC, and then there's across the street is an apartment building that's set next to.
Can you speak up? Can you stand up? Yeah.
No, my back hurts, I'm sorry.
So in the 5400 block of Delridge,
In the 5400 block
That's
of
the
Delray.
DESC facility?
DESC, downtown.
that's not a, that's not
Not
the.
a shelter?
That's not a shelter, that's an intake.
Right, so it is supportive housing, but they're different, they're going to serve maybe some of the same folks, but they're long-term. Keith's is short-term.
Yes. and
But
then
Keith
across
just
the
switched
street-
to a year-round model.
Across the street is another place that handles principally people, work-based people, usually.
Right, right, and again, those are already in the system. Keith's doing this.
I know, I belong to the DFW, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of here representing them.
Right.
We're not happy about it either. We know what happened with Keith. There's, right way to go through the American Legion and Washington State. I don't know for their charter if they're using that property appropriately. I'll ask the guys what they think.
She had her hand up.
So I just wanted to add, so the situation doesn't just advance from this location and go up to the junction. We get it on the other half. They go over to the Totem Pole Park or whatever. I live on the south, what is that? South side of Camp Long. Like the end of my street butts up against the green belt. So they come in through that fence over here by the Totem Pole Park. They go through, they come back on the backside, come out on Brandon, and then we deal with it from the Brandon side and from this side.
our neighborhood's gotten kind of organized, there's a couple WhatsApp groups. So we have repeatedly turned in Find It, Fix It app, you know, when people walk their dogs and stuff. But the problem is, and I've seen it, I'll drive down going someplace and I see, you know, people being removed in the morning. They're right back in the afternoon when I go home at night. So there's got to be something else that can be done or offered to them in order to help them to leave that area and go elsewhere. Secondly, I've seen, what was it, Friday night? I don't know who was playing at the stadium, but cars were parked on the grass. I've never seen that many cars, all the way up to the top of the hill. So you've got all these people from not in this area with their cars parked, and then you've got all those tents and things, and I thought, I hope that everything winds up being safe and people are able to get back to their cars and get home safely. I'm not saying that all these people camped out are bad people, but things happen.
Is that from this Friday or the Friday before?
It was about 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the Udayan Visa Catholic.
I wondered.
Memorial Stadium's closed, so
Yeah, I know
they're
that
using
part.
West Seattle.
Yeah, I know that.
You
part.
had mentioned, the second state. Here's a little bit of background to this on December 23rd,
Go ahead, everybody speak up as loud as you can, so
On
everyone.
December 23rd, 2013, the American Legion quit claim deed this property to the West Seattle Veterans Center. The sole proprietor of that center is he, and the only other member of that board is his wife, Linda. They own that property and have since 2013. Because there was not enough interaction with the American Legion, and his goal changed from working with veterans to an open house hold center. The National Association of the American Legion does not recognize that.
Him or the unit?
There's no more Unit 160
Okay.
at that location. It is privately owned, and the only 2 people that own it are Keith and Linda. So we're working with private property owners. They may, and it's a corporation, not an LLC. So there's a difference there.
Right.
A big difference there. And I'll just leave it at that, and other people can comment.
So it's not a nonprofit.
He has a nonprofit that he is now,
Westside Shelter.
he is transferred to Westside Shelter
Westside
as a
Neighborhood.
501c3, but the property is still owned by Keith. He went from serving veterans, which everybody was for. Then we had COVID, no one was gonna protest anything about that. We saw dozens of tents in Rotary Park, no one was gonna have any issue with that, and we don't have an issue with it now. The problem is that it actually has become a magnet area for drug dealing.
There's a question over here.
So,
I think we're also giving incorrect information out, because when I went to the meeting on Saturday, and I was there early, so a volunteer gave me a tour, and I asked, what's the relationship to the Veterans Hall? And she says, we keep all the veterans' things in a closet, and if need be, we'll bring them out. And then she said somebody recently came off a bus and needed help filling out veterans' paperwork, and they helped them fill it out. I said, why don't you send them over to the VA? And she said, the volunteer said they just came off the bus. So I think they're misrepresenting themselves to the public, and maybe that's unconsciously, or that, I don't know. But that's unfair to the veterans who really need good service.
I would love to, I'm gonna let you answer, but also transition to what other resources can we do of support to help him?
That's
It is a
actually what I
private,
wanted to
hearing
talk
that,
through.
and talk about that, and then speaking on people that aren't present makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yes, so, hi, my name is Abby, and I live on 38th Avenue, and there were, I think, a lot of us at the Legion on Saturday, and I think it's unfortunate to continue to have a lot of grievances shared without a solution-oriented mindset.
I actually, coming out of that meeting and had many of my own grievances, have sat individually with Keith, done a lot of research to understand what is the history of the place, what are the services that are being offered, and what are solutions that we can do as a community, because I think the services that are being offered are important, but the safety and security is a real concern of all of us from a local business perspective, and general in the neighborhood. Many of the other Seattle properties that have been set up to give these types of services have to do a good neighbor agreement. And that is something that then puts a clear ongoing safety operations plan in place. There's a lot then of requirement on engagement with the community, on outreach and education, and there's a community advisory group that gets appointed. So my partner and I are actually meeting with Keith and the board this Thursday to start putting some of the steps in place to think about what is an operating plan, what needs to be done from a security perspective, and the reality is that that requires quite a bit of funding. He is incredibly under-resourced. And so I guess my question of this group is, if there is a plan that addresses the safety and security with improved communication on the outreach and actually put some regulation and responsibility in place for the space itself and the surrounding area to replicate this good neighbor agreement that so many of the other places in the city has, is that something that the community would get behind? Are people then willing to help with the fundraising of it? Because how it's being run today is not a solution, but funding is pretty critical when it comes to the safety and security needed. So I just want to put that out there. It's early. I think Keith is actually very aware of his limitations. I do think that there is a general perception on his inability to work with others, but I think it's because people are coming with complaints versus actually wanting to do something different about the situation. So I'm putting together a lot of the sort of marketing and CRM to think about how do we improve communication so folks like this can get more access consistently. But I think the reality is that there's also a funding component. That funding needs to be applied to a real plan, and security is obviously the number one opportunity and issue at hand. So if you would like to be a part of that or have specific comments or aspects on that, I would love to hear perspective. But I think my mindset is it can't stay as is, it's going to be operating, how can we improve it?
How do we get your contact information?
I'm happy to share that.
Yeah, she'll wait after the meeting to grab contact, right? But thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, if I thought he was capable of that, I'd be all for it. But I went to that community meeting at the Y. He lied. He said he was shutting it down. And he's doubled down now. And he lied during COVID. He said he had parties that were way over the legal limit. There were shootings. The ends always justify the means with him. And that's not how you are collaborative with the community, to lie to everybody and constantly mislead because you think you're doing something good and you want the ends to justify the means. I have a 2-year-old. I live right across the street from it. There are drug dealers every night backing in, right? Every single night. There are people in the alley now looking in our cars, right? We went to the meeting. What's he say? If it's outside my walls, like, whatever.
Right, I think that is unacceptable, and so part of the need to have
So
a
why would I
plan
give him
that's...
money?
Because there's no way to actually have sustained, I mean, unless the police have perspective on how to handle 24/7 security in that area, I think the reality is that there is a private security aspect. We talked about, do you put a fence around the place that can be locked when there is no one that's actually there to serve? There is not a consistent amount of resources to actually apply regulation and restriction on the rules that need to be set up. So these are all sort of necessary factors of a good agreement plan.
I don't buy that. I don't think we can spend enough money to fix this problem. It's part of a failed approach to governing that runs Seattle. If you just tax and spend enough, you can create a utopia and solve every single problem. The role of the police, as I see it, is to enforce the law and protect the rights of the law-abiding citizens. So if people are dealing drugs, doing illegal drugs, committing other types of crimes, I expect them to be arrested. Now, if they're on drugs and they go to a treatment facility or some type of mandatory treatment, that's fine. But we can't have criminals
And I want to be clear, I don't want to sound like I'm cold or not empathetic. But I was robbed on the bus a month ago at gunpoint. Somebody was robbed across the street from the shelter in May at gunpoint at 9:30 in the morning. Last week, I saw a guy walking up and down my block looking in cars. I confronted him about it and he had an excuse. These are crimes. When crimes are committed, I expect the police, well, looking in the car is not a crime, but the other examples are clearly crimes. So I expect the police to enforce the law. Now, I know there's a lot of politics involved, and I don't want to sound like I'm blaming you. I support the police, but we need a change of policy here, and we need for us to face the fact that there are people in the world who are selfish, and they don't care about others. And if they're on drugs, the thing they're thinking about is their next high. And the way to get that, one way, is to steal other people's property, sell it, get the money, get your next fix. That's a crime. That's a violation of people's property rights. And I expect the property rights of businesses and citizens to be protected.
I would love to also not focus the whole time. This is obviously something that's not going to be solved in this discussion. We have somebody that's interested in working with people that wanting to problem solve it. Once again, private property. Drug, fentanyl use is a citywide issue. I don't know if that's what you're going to talk about. I can speak of the community that I used to live in, and it's much worse than what you guys are talking about, and wanting to look at, maybe share about the crisis response team, the new aspect of 911, and how they work would be a responsive aspect. Is that something from SPD could speak on? Of support, and then transition this to see if there's another hot topic to talk about, because maybe something in your neighborhood, if you don't live here.
Just before they read it. So I just want to speak to this thing about drug user equal criminal equal and need to be arrested. It's sort of a cut and dry. It's an immediate solution to the immediate issue of the person using, the person stealing. But
Can you speak up a little bit?
So, sure, sorry. The thing about, if a person is using that, and the idea of arresting them or putting them in treatment handles the immediate issue of substance abuse, but doesn't address sort of the social determinants of that keep people in a cycle of resource lack, psychological issues, reaching for drugs, and et cetera.
Yeah, but
So I'm wondering, I'm not countering what you're saying. What I'm looking for is, again, more long-range solutions. So I'm wondering, yes, the crisis response team. I'm wondering about the care team. I'm wondering what other, publicly available resources can be put up.
Sure, okay, I'm gonna jump in.
Yes.
So I'm a community service officer of the department, and what we can offer is working with you, Abby, having a relationship with Keith, introducing Keith to outreach organizations. So the care team is not an outreach organization. They respond to essentially move people along. But what we can connect them to is real organizations that do this work and do it well. I'm talking Lehigh, DESC, REACH, right? Let's get Keith connected to real case management, and let's get some actual services that provide long-term assistance in case management to people in Keith's arsenal. Let's have a case manager there that's from an organization every day, right? I think there's a lot we can do to partner with Keith towards a solution so I'd love to be a part of this. Thank you. And she's had her hand up a really long time, so I don't want to sit there.
I like how you're approaching things.
Can you speak up?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I said I liked how she's approaching things from a solutions-oriented mindset. I think that's a good place to start. I have one question about the funding aspect. You had mentioned you've seen some other comparable shelters in the city with the Good Neighbor program. Are we aware of how they're getting their funding? Or
It's all city funded.
Okay.
So I was just trying to find an example of something that, because this is a larger scale issue of where is the city funding a structure? I mean, honestly, the one I was looking at is they're buying the old polyclinic building in Cap Hill. It's a 115,000 square foot building, a little bit larger scale, but I was just looking at what is the structure that needed to be in place between the city, the local neighborhoods, community, and how to sort of replicate that. Because I think right now, there is no plan, there's no forward looking, there's nothing. And so it's just some sort of operational structure to at least try to see like where are the strengths and weaknesses in his ability and what can be sort of like a hold out of. And I honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it is a feasible solution, but I'm at least trying to see is there something that can be done versus just bitching about it and trying to shut him down. Because he does have funding to be able to continue it. It is a 501c. He does own the property, and so it's not going to just disappear. So I'm just trying to think through what are things that can be done with security top of mind.
Why doesn't it help to arrest someone who's on drugs?
Sir,
If they have to go to treatment, doesn't that get them off of drugs? Doesn't that help?
So that studies have shown no. So I would take, somebody who does that work could share more about that, but
But there are a
studies
lot of
have shown that
people
it
who have
does help.
been forced to go to treatment who have said that it has
I'd
done.
like for her to continue her question really quick. Real quick, she was continuing her question.
No, my second question for you, like in terms of creating some sort of structure, we're fairly new here, so I'm
A
not.
little bit louder, please,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Maybe I'm not up to speed on what the latest is, but last time I checked, it's been moved to a full, like all night long, come and go operation, like they're willing to intake people throughout all hours of the night. I saw that in an interview from him sharing that. Has it changed at all, or have we considered maybe limiting the hours of operation at night to intake new patients or new residents, just based on the noise and the screaming outside and stuff, at least to block off some hours of the night from coming and going,
So
potentially?
it's only running as a shelter during the winter months.
He doesn't do night times that I'm aware of.
Can we-
Until it gets cold or hot.
Can I clarify that? Because we live right up the street, and actually in past April, he posted on the West Side Neighbors blog that it's actually moving to a year-round model.
I saw that, and then he ran out of money and wasn't able to do that.
Okay.
So it's, yeah.
If I could kind of just tie it up, and I know we're looking to move on, and I'm trying to be mindful of everyone's time. Again, I'm Rachel with the West Seattle Chamber. So we've been in talks with Keith and a number of the surrounding businesses, and this is obviously a nuanced issue that's ongoing. Sometimes there's not a lot of structure that we can answer that question back and forth, and again, Keith's not here to say whether or not he's taking them in. I think it's a case-by-case basis. But what I want to ask of SPD in this time as we transition is what can we do to get increased patrols to that neighborhood while the community works on building, while we work on getting it organized, while we work on getting a structure to see what the plan is. How can we partner with SPD immediately to increase patrols to help mitigate the open air drug use and the crime that is ongoing pretty constantly there? I'm not talking about taking people and moving them. I'm talking about dealing with the drug crisis epidemic that is centered there and how we can get more police response immediately and in the meantime to move forward. So I think that's my ask of SPD. I think a lot of neighboring businesses and residents could benefit from hearing what a potential plan would be. We encourage, every time I'm in conversations, we encourage the Find It, Fix It. We encourage 911 calls. They call. There's not always like a quick response time, and obviously that's because limited resources. But what can we do to get increased patrols to help mitigate it immediately?
Yes, great question. Number one I will start with is the 911 calls. And then another thing is on our website, you can do a request to watch. That way you can get very specific as far as the time, the location. In Southwest Precinct, we just started on second watch hours, an emphasis vehicle. So this emphasis vehicle goes around and deals with problems identified specifically by the community, and we just focus on that so we can get some sort of immediate relief in that area.
For sure.
So I will take this.
Who authorizes that vehicle? Is it the lieutenant on duty then?
That is me. That's something that we just started this month in September. Last month, September. There's two officers during second watch hours, but they have the flexibility to do something on third watch hours if necessary. But I would think this is a formal request, hey, we want some extra patrols in this particular area.
Yeah, absolutely, like stat, you
Yes,
know, and I
yes.
think if Matt, you could share all the resources he just mentioned, I would be happy to give it out to the members of the neighboring businesses too. So whatever the website, the links
Yeah.
are, I'd love to put that out.
Okay, I'll make sure I
Is
mention
there any way of maybe having the captain in on this? Maybe set up a meeting between the folks and having the captain there?
Yeah, so right now, my captain's out of town, but make sure I update her and make sure I link her with the rest of us in this group.
That'd be great.
Yep.
And I do want to say the captain very desperately wanted to be here tonight. Unfortunately, she is at home taking care of her family issues.
Yeah.
That's the only reason she
Understand.
didn't come.
Okay.
But she did want me to
She
send that to
she
you all.
totally be,
Yes.
you know, yes, I
She
get it.
is very informed.
And you had your hand up.
I'm kind of curious, you had mentioned that this nuisance ordinance doesn't pertain to the nonprofit. But as far as the residents around there, don't they have any rights for this nuisance ordinance?
As a property owner's property owner.
Yeah.
It's civil matters.
So, right, so are you referring to the chronic nuisance statute? I mean,
That would like you is illegal.
Sure, yeah, that's what I was asking, okay, yeah, so, there's a lot of criteria that go into it, and I'll let you know that Jen Satterwhite has just, brought up this issue to me, so there's a lot of things I can look into, and I'm still researching, to see. I think a lot of it will have to do with funding, like we were talking about with a private property. So, chronic nuisance, does not allow for, city funded, but that's not what we're working with here. So that's something that I can certainly, look into. I can't obviously make you promises now about how it will and won't apply in this situation. But it does have to meet certain criteria and certain documented information. And so, again, with the find it, fix it is going to be very helpful, as is making sure that folks report it. Because I know I hear a lot of anecdotal information about what people may have seen or, the kind of stories I hear. But what's really helpful is if you actually report and let SPD know, because some of those things, they come up in meetings and there are many things that SPD might not directly know about unless you inform them. And so that helps for the documentation part of it. With chronic nuisance, it's pretty formal. It can't just, it can't be, the off the cuff of, I heard that these kind of activities happen. So it has to be pretty documented, and that's something that you all can help with by notifying SPD when you see or hear something. So that they can investigate immediately and have that written down.
So, for clarification, so you can do the nuisance against a nonprofit, or you cannot?
So, there's one provision in the chronic nuisance statute that prevents it from being used with governmental. With governmental entities. And so, in this case, this is not governmental. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that we'd want to think about and whether this is an appropriate solution in this case. So it's again, I can't tell you for sure that it will work in this particular instance, but it's something we can, discuss and talk about. But specifically, it's governmental agencies that would be exempt from chronic nuisance. This one's not.
Well, I just know that we had a situation a number of years ago on Del Ridge that there was a chronic nuisance situation that we worked with the city attorney's office on and built a case to finally get the problem taken care of. And it was a long drawn-out process, but we were able to use the chronic nuisance ordinance against this business.
This business was not a nonprofit.
Does it make a difference if there's a daycare across the street and then the Y with the children's daycare, so two daycares that flank the north
There's
side
nothing in the
and
city
west
ordinance. I looked at all that too.
If he was selling recreational drugs, then there'd be some separation requirements, but.
But the illegal drug use still on the property in view of the daycare, that doesn't count.
Well, if it's illegal, it's not regulated.
You want us to take pictures?
I think if there's a city ordinance question, I think we can ask Rachel that question about that, if that's a general overarching, but trying to transition to other, concerns in West Seattle, this is a big one that is
So what resources can the city bring to the table? Because we're in the middle of budget season right now, so Rob should be able to put a rider in there somewhere to get some funding to help address this issue, to bring some resources to the table, correct?
Yeah, so just overall comment on budget, for anyone who's not aware, the city is in a $140 million deficit. Expected to be worse when we get our next budget update on October 20th.
Yeah, everyone needs to project.
We're in a huge budget deficit, $140 million this year, so there is not free-flowing cash around anywhere. I'm not aware of any funding asked related to this property. Nothing has been brought to our office's attention related to the property. Tonight is the first I've heard about the security proposal. Obviously, anyone's allowed to bring a funding request to our office. We'll evaluate it alongside any other request. Nothing has been brought to our office's attention today.
But you could take already allocated funds that are in the budget and put a rider to bring them over to this specific project, correct?
From another,
From already,
From the
from,
homelessness and safety.
from some DHS bucket of money that you're approving.
I think first we need to make council member aware of the situation.
Well, I thought,
Yesterday.
I heard that somebody had a meeting with the council member yesterday
The
about
BIA
this
program,
project.
I mentioned it at length about my concerns here. I didn't make a formal request, maybe that's what I was supposed to do.
we are aware of this property, our office is aware of this property, and every single time I receive an email about it, and I have received many, I always raise it to Jennifer, and I ask for extra patrols, for emphasis patrols during all hours of the day. Whether that has been granted, whether that's making a difference, I couldn't tell you. But we recognize the service that it provides to the people that need it, but if people are coming to sell drugs in that area, prey upon people who are benefiting from that organization, that is not okay, and that is something that we see as SPD having a role in.
Thanks for everybody bringing a lot of those. I know it's extremely complicated. I will say that I really appreciate hearing all this. I didn't know a lot of these things. It's very nice for me to understand more of the specifics about this. I'm happy to talk in more detail as well, because I think it's important that we know all of the minutiae. From SBD's perspective, and I know you want to say something, but I will say that this information we get here, in tandem with the data we receive from calls and reports, that's how we make decisions, right? So all the things that we've talked about, I appreciate that, but the reporting piece is a big piece. But what you said tonight also was very impactful, so thank you for that. And Michelle, I think you wanted to say something?
Hi. Okay, so my name is Michelle Kim. I'm a mental health professional with the Seattle Police Crisis Response Team. Okay. So my colleague, Officer Albert, couldn't come in today, but Jennifer invited us to this meeting, so thank you for sending the information. I just want to introduce myself. Officer Albert and I just got assigned to Southwest recently.
Yay.
So I don't know if they're us, so we are all.
Step in the front, because I see some people.
It's
all right.
We are also city employees under SPD, so we are different from the care department. So we use the co-responder model, which is different than dual dispatch. So Officer Grayson and I are partners, and we are in a marked car together, and we go to 911 calls together. So there might be a civilian in a police car, and that might be one of us. There are 4 clinicians and a supervisor. I'm a little nervous.
You're doing great.
Okay, so
Take deep breaths.
thank you, yeah. We recently got a referral about a month ago to a screaming lady with wild hair who pees a pea patch in this area. Familiar? Okay, so we actually went to the Totem Pole Park, because we got a referral through Southwest to outreach her. We did offer her resources. I did connect her to a case manager. She is on the wait list for outreach, and that is the So, yeah, so I also live in the city, but I live in the U district. So we also have a pretty big social problem that you're just surrounded by a social problem. Yeah, so thank you.
To respect everyone's time, we do still have a little bit more, and I want to hear about more things that you're talking about. And so, just to wrap this up really quickly, thank you for all your comments. I heard them, Lieutenant heard them, Eric heard them, and we really appreciate it. I know it's very complicated, and we'd all like to support a better solution moving forward. I think everyone has that same goal. How we go about doing it, the details, that's what we got to figure out. But SPD will try to do as best as we can for what we're able to do. So thank you for all of that. Opening it up, and now Ella for other
Yeah,
topics.
if there's any other concerns, yeah.
On a totally different subject, most of us probably watch the evening news. Other medium-sized cities, large cities are having the current administration, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, is sending National Guard troops or whoever, military and former military. I'll leave my opinion out of it, but we're on the list, is what I've heard. So, and Portland's getting them too, I think, or the stop, they're getting them. Is the Seattle Police Department ready for this? And if they come, whatever state they come from, or the federal military, who's in charge of them while they're here? And you may not have an answer, but I want to throw that out so that hopefully the Seattle Police Department is thinking about this. Are you?
I believe the Seattle Police Department is thinking about that, but the mayor is in charge of the Seattle Police Department and the chief of police. But I'm pretty sure whatever eventuality comes, that will be worked out. That way the citizens don't.
If you could communicate that, officer?
Say again?
Lieutenant, it'd be great to communicate that to the public, who's in charge, because it has the potential, as you probably know, to be crazy. So.
They did that last week at the press conference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's been several proclamations come out from the mayor's office over the last month
I haven't heard
addressing
anything from the news.
this
That's all I
situation.
And they addressed it during the debate Friday night also.
Okay.
Yeah, they did.
So are we confident that it's gonna be taken care of and handled?
He said it was.
I think he made a pretty strong stance.
Good.
Sir, do you ever go on the City of Seattle website? Because
No.
this information, I'm suggesting that
I looked at the
you
SPD website, it's awesome, but the city of Seattle, I don't have time for that stuff.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
I'm
it's
here.
just one opportunity for you to learn things. For what they
There's
say.
a lot of them.
There's a lot of
You
opportunities.
probably have a website too, as well as everybody up in the front. You know, I mean, you can spend your whole day doing all this stuff. And that's why we're here, is to, for those people who do this, to make our opinions known as well. So I, as a citizen, taxpayer, Seattle, third-generation resident, would like that known, that I'm very concerned about that happening, and I hope it's taken care of as best it can be, because we're living in crazy times.
Thank you very much for bringing it up. Sorry, Lieutenant. Just to keep everything as cordial as possible before we get there, respect everyone's space here. We really appreciate the question. We'll answer it as best as we possibly can. But just to keep this a cordial as best as possible place, we want all of the questions and advice and everyone's words to be respected as most as possible. So thank you for that. Good.
So it's an access issue, you know, it might be helpful if between SPD and council and mayor's office to do a press release, and have it, so yes, because yes, things are on the city website, yes, things are mentioned in debates, but as we have, an object lesson here, not everybody is cued into those, so if we could share those with our local media stations, whether that's radio, television, whatever, just to make sure that that gets out to more people, so that that concern is, so that folks know that the answer has already been provided, actually.
Yeah, local community-based groups can share with their news mail list about, or links to the city websites with whatever the discussions is and stuff. So that you're already know part of.
Do you have any crime statistics for West Seattle?
Sure, yeah. If you would like, I'm happy to discuss those with you. Just real with that you like to do with it, or yeah, I brought some stats. I was looking a little bit at this. Of course, I'm new, right? So I'm trying to understand Southwest as best as possible.
Sorry, Matt, can you do it from here?
Sure, absolutely. So, some quick stats. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty, but overall, year-to-date, so that's January 1st all the way till today, compared to last year, that same kind of time period, we are down crime a total of 16%. So a significant decrease. Yeah, I'm very happy about it. We've been talking about that. All the levels of SB were very happy. Does that mean that that's how you feel personally, that crime is down? Probably not. And so we're also cognizant of that. Our data shows us one thing, but that's why we come to the community meetings in the first place, to hear from you directly about your experiences. We think they're both extremely valuable. We are happy about that number. I think that means that we're having an impact with the limited resources that we have. As we get more and more, we're hoping to have an even better impact next time, right? But currently down 16% overall total crime. A couple of highlights there. Burglaries are down 31% that same time period, year to date. Robberies, the same, down nearly 30%. And the only precinct in all of Seattle that has 0 homicides this year. That's what I had for you.
Actual numbers versus percentages?
I can give you some general numbers here. So for example, the reason I say general is this is the data that we have, all sorts of reasons that I could be making a mistake. I don't want to tell you exact and expect that's exactly what it is. All sorts of reasons why it could be slightly off. But if we're thinking about total crime, down 16%, what that looks like is the prior year, that was around 3,500 total instances of crime, versus this year it's about 2,800, roughly. So that equates to a 16% decrease in total crime, what that looks like. And again, the thing I'm most excited about, 0 homicides. I think that's a win. Any questions on those? Yes.
What is the police force right now? I'm sorry, I've been not available for a couple of years, but the police is down.
Yeah.
Hiring. Where are they at right now? And I also kind of want to know, if you have it, the number of calls to 911. I feel like there's a huge fatigue on the citizens of even calling, and really having a lot of faith. And I think that's where you get the heated, what the hell are you doing? You're not fixing it. I think people are just very fatigued. So I'm wondering if the 911 calls come down and what the stats on the employment.
I appreciate both those questions. I'll answer the employment question as best as I can. I don't have the specific numbers, but I will say that last I heard, which I think was about a couple weeks ago, we are net 64 officers. So that means after all of the people who left, after all the new hires, we have a total of 64, which is the biggest, to my understanding, the biggest increase that SPD has ever had in a year, which I'm extremely excited about.
But we were so far down.
We were, and we're still not up at fully staffed. I don't know how close we are, but every single year we are getting better. The same information last year, I think we were only up 1 officer. So last year compared to this year, we have 64 new, trained, ready-to-go officers, and we're getting more and more. Maybe you can speak more about that, Lieutenant.
Yes, so just to piggyback what Matt said, one is a great thing that crime is trending down for us, but also hiring is getting better and better and better. And also with the support from the mayor's office, we're recruiting a lot of lateral officers, which means they get on the street a lot faster because they have previous experience from different agencies. So they come here, they do an abbreviated time at the academy, they do abbreviated time at FTO, and then they're on the street handling 911 calls pretty fast. I don't have the exact numbers on where we're at with staffing right now, but I know we are net positive. And that's with all retirements and new officers coming in. Yes, sir.
Just to throw a number on that, when the chief came in, was that the March meeting?
The first one.
The first
that we
meeting,
had,
yeah,
the
February
first
one?
public, yeah.
Yeah. At the time, he said of the 21 academy spots in Central Washington, there were 15 from Seattle. So most of that current candidate class was representing
The biggest slice of the
SPD.
pie is-
Yes.
And just for a little bit of perspective, that's a great point. In my academy class, there was 3 of us. So that 3 to go to 15, like Matt said, 64 in 1 year, we've never done that before. So we are trending in the right direction.
Real quick to answer answer your second question, I don't have the specific numbers on that, but I do think that there has been a general decrease in overall calls. Could be all sorts of reasons why that is. It could be calling fatigue. I think we're all very aware of that, and I'm not going to say that that's not a reason. I think it absolutely could be. The other reason could be that there is less crimes to call about as well. So we don't know the specific answer, but I will say conjecturally, from what I have seen, there have been less overall calls, all citywide, not just here in Southwest, but citywide. You have a question?
Do you have statistics for shots fired in like the last few months? Have they gone up? Have they gone down?
I do have statistics on shots, absolutely. So we're talking about, real quick overview of, we'll talk about year-to-date first. So we are down from the previous year. Last year we had a total at this same time period of 83 shots fired. This year we are at 77, again 0 fatalities. Of that number, 7 of them had a non-fatal but shot a victim, basically. So we are down slightly on that, looking to get even better on that next year, of course. But over the past couple of months, starting from in August, we had 11 total shots fired calls. September we had 6. And so far in October, we have 2. The majority of them, to my understanding, have been in kind of green spaces where it's not a person, it tends to be target practice. A lot of that is something that we're looking at. Specifically, I've had many conversations, even in the few days that I've been in this role, about that. So, conjecturally speaking, I believe a lot of them can be stopped with certain aspects of that, for overall trending in the correct direction.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm with SPD as well, and after a meeting with my captain today, he said that it's about 2 years till a new officer will get on full time on his own completely, and then it's still 1 year.
Can you speak up a little?
It's 2 years when a new hire would start, a new officer, 2 years after all of the training stuff they'll go through, and then for lateral hires, it's still 1 year. And what they were kind of referencing with the academy, SPD only used to get up to like 13 spots for SPD, but they kind of waived that for now because of the staff shortages, so we're hoping to see some more officers.
Can I make a quick, slight change of subject?
Yeah.
So I'm with Alki Community, they're, as I told you, more than half my life. At our last meeting, Officer Barretto and Captain Mayer were there, as well as CSO and Matt and a lot of people. It was awesome, and it was a very heated conversation. But they brought up the same thing that Officer Barretto brought up at my house after and my dog and I were shot on the street in April by Yersaka. Where are there individual cameras pointed towards the street? And they brought it up at the meeting too, that if, and you can correct me, Commander, but my understanding is if you have your own personal camera pointed at the street and you record an incident, you can give that to the city. And when Officer Barretto was at my house, one of the things he said is, are there any cameras, are there any video cameras down the street? And I said, no. And he went down there, he looked anyway, and then we went down together to look for whatever those things are, the airsoft gun pellets. But listening to everybody talk tonight, those of you who are living in troubled areas, do you have cameras? And this is just in, you don't have to answer me, but if you had cameras and you pointed it and you had the evidence, you can give that anywhere, including the media, including the police. And I don't know if that will help, but it might, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out because it came up in my personal incident and it came up at the Alki Community Council meeting.
Yes, absolutely correct. You all can share evidence with the Seattle Police Department. And again, just kind of emphasizes on what Adam was saying. It's going to take all of us to make our community a little bit safer. And one way of doing that is collaborating with SPD when it comes to evidence. We have a real-time crime center. The city just passed an initiative where there's sections of the city that we have a live feed into, but individuals can go to the website and you can give SPD permission to link into the cameras share evidence. There's also, whenever there's a crime that occurs, and Seattle Police Department responds, an officer can give you a link, and you can do a one-time transfer of whatever that video or picture evidence is, and it's added to the case instantaneously. So there's all types of ways to collaborate. Anna?
Yeah, and so, I don't know if you guys have gotten information about the camera registry. Talk louder, please. I don't know if everybody's like, knowledgeable about the new camera registry and stuff, but if you register your camera, you put like an email, phone number, name and number, kind of things like that. You don't give them your login to your personal camera system, and if they ask you for footage, you can decline. So they don't have like live access to it, but it helps officers and detectives, that process, seeing where people have cameras, oh, they're shooting right here, you can kind of see who has cameras and then go ask them directly instead of going and knocking on doors. Hey, you have footage.
The ring doorbells, does that count?
Yeah.
Well, there's also the ones on the wall.
They don't want the ones inside your house, they just want to know where their house is.
Yes. And like Anna said, it's not a lot of fee, it's just a quicker transfer of information. That's right.
Different topic, is that okay?
Yes.
Of course. Sure.
Also on Alki, I'm wondering if there's any plans to crack down on some of the racing at night on Harbor and Alki Avenue and the noise. I saw that New York Times article about some of the things they've done for vehicular noise, speeding. Anything in work for next summer?
Yeah, so there is a huge planning meeting right now to prepare for next summer. Particularly the Darnley boat ramp, that kind of draws a large crowd. Seattle Police Department working with the Parks Department as well, partnering with our parking enforcement officers, and we are looking to do some emphasis shifts on Friday and Saturday nights to enforce some of the parking violations that are out there, to try to keep some of the nuisances away, as well as enforcing more of the noises that come from vehicles. So yes, that is a priority of ours currently, and we're going to try to make sure we ramp it up for summertime.
Is there space for a community besides this space to share voices and their recommendations? How would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so I'm going to leave my contact information here, and you can get a hold of me directly as well. Yes, ma'am?
One more question.
I have a question about tracking. Does SPD track overdose deaths in West Seattle from the King County Medical Examiner's site? You
If
track
it's
that?
from King County, they're going to have their own data. I would reach out to them to find out the specifics.
They have great.
Yeah, it's through the King County Medical Examiner's office. We get the emails.
Oh, you
Can
do?
everybody hear
Okay.
that?
We didn't hear a question. I think it was, if I heard correctly, was death reporting.
It was about tracking overdose deaths. That's done through the King County Medical Examiner's office.
And so you can go to their website.
But do you track that?
We don't track it. The medical examiner's office has a whole program to track it.
But do they look at trends, or do you look at trends?
I would talk to them directly. I have a whole team right now that's grant funded doing that exact work.
Oh.
And, yeah, I can put you in touch with them.
One last question, I'm sorry, thank you. The last meeting I was at was actually the one in March that you were referring to. And the very next day, police officer actually shot a civilian. My question is because Office of Inspector General has released a report, and from the time that SPD had shot a taser, it was 0.4 seconds that they actually shot with the lethal weapon. Is there what is the policy, number one, and then number two, is there, what does the community think about that? Because that's pretty close, 0.4 seconds to be shot with a taser, and then to be shot with a gun, and then but you're facilitating also law enforcement, but also public safety.
Yes, thank you for that question. I can't go into specific details about that incident or its ongoing investigation or the details of the investigation. You're right, we have Office of Police Accountability that looks into our Office of all shootings. We have our FIT team, Force Investigation Team, who looks into all OISs. But I will say that all these incidents can happen in an instance. They're very high stress. Obviously, our policy that officers only use force when it's reasonable, necessary, and proportionate. So we don't, there's no officer that wakes up wanting to get into a lethal force encounter. Okay, so I'm sorry if I don't answer your question more in depth because I don't know the ins and outs of that particular OIS.
So and even just the policy, you guys don't even know the policy?
Yes, I do know the policy.
Okay, what is the policy?
Again, so our officers do not use force unless it's reasonable, necessary, and proportionate. So based on what they're facing is how they respond to it. And then we have an Office of Police Accountability that investigates that, and if an officer is acting outside of that, to hold him or her accountable.
I also believe our policy manual is available to the public. Am I correct
Yes,
in that?
it is online.
Feel free to research that up to whatever you'd like to as well to get the specifics on the information.
And I just want to add that our officers, I think Anna mentioned earlier, 2 years before they're actually on their own, we're all mandatory training. They qualify once a year. Our officers have additional use of force classes available twice a week at our training facility down at Parkland 5. They also have monthly additional range training that they can opt to go to, and just very well-trained officers.
Thank you.
And they can find that, the manuals where?
If you go to the Seattle Police Department website, it's one of the first things up there.
Awesome.
Yes.
I would first want to close out with, we all know a more connected community is a safer community. And so I would love for us to end with some of our community leads to share about things that you guys are doing in the up and coming months before our next quarterly meeting, in a way to be connected to others in West Seattle and support the safety of our great former island of West Seattle back to being a peninsula. And I'm going to start this side. It's funny because I'm a community builder, so you all know where you are. You may want to share some of what is happening for us. And we do tons of stuff in High Point every week. We have walking routes, we have a community safety, we have free drop-in art sessions. So if there's anything that you're interested in connecting with our beautiful High Point residents, that to me is my favorite aspect of West Seattle. We have views on views on views. So please feel to reach out to me. But I want to highlight some other folks and their community activities.
I do want to add one more thing. If any of you do live in High Point, we do a monthly little pickup in the community.
Oh,
If
yes,
you want to
thank
join
you.
us, and do it in the fun.
It's October the 8th, 2:30 to 4. I know Alki does it. We actually have a High Point resident that was just sharing about how he picks litter up with a group of people in Alki and just showing the heart of the duty to each other that this elder has. So,
Can you say the date one more time, please?
October the 8th, 2:30, 4 p.m. We meet, if you know Neighborhood House Building, there's a basketball court, and we meet right there behind that basketball court. And we do it once a month. It's always, that's the second Wednesday of the month.
Morgan Community Association is going to be having its quarterly meeting October 15th. That's a week from tomorrow, Wednesday, and that's from 7 to 9. We'll be meeting in person at the Church of the Nazarene, 41st in Juneau, is that right? Yeah. And then we'll also be on Zoom through our website. So it's, we'll be learning a little, any new details about the Morgan Junction Park expansion, about Morgan Junction All Wheels Association, or Junction, and having some candidates who get a few minutes to talk about what they're all about. So Morgan Junction Community Association meeting October 15th, 7 to 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Junction Association is always trying to have a lot of fun in the neighborhood. So we've got our art walks on the second Thursday of every month. We've got the West Seattle Book Clubs going on the first Thursday of every month. And at the end of the month, on the 26th, last Sunday, trick-or-treating in the Junction. We expect about 5,000 little goblins running all over the place. And we'll have the pie eating contest and chili cook-off and all those good fun things. And then just as far as SCP goes, I just spent 2 hours introducing new recruits in on the beat. Yeah, and it was just fun to have businesses meet them and talk with them, so I enjoyed that a lot.
Our next community building event will be our kids' Halloween parade that we have in our neighborhood every year. Folks just, stand out in their driveway and have candy. Some have Jello shots. Some have not the kids, but the parents have to have fun as well. And there's some very unique ways of delivering the candy to the kids. And it's always a great event. And I would be remiss to say that the Mariners won 8-4. Colorado hit another home run.
That's great.
Well, in Highland Park, we just continue to struggle along to rebuild our community center. We have a general membership meeting of that group tomorrow, which is pretty exciting. And then the Highland Park Action Coalition will be meeting on the 22nd at the Southwest Library Meeting Room. We hope to have Estat as our guest, but I don't want to be for sure about that. We have lots of family, adult, youth programming in South Park if you're around the area. Again, at the South Park Hall, and the building we call El Barrio, which is owned by community. We'll have October 31st, we'll have a costume contest that involves 5 different restaurants and 5 prizes. You can look on Cultivate South Park's Instagram website. We have a music show that features artists from King County, Washington, Hawaii. All these are free programs. We have free sewing classes with sewing machines. We have live figure drawing, dance classes. We have a free drop-in play space Thursdays and Fridays from 10 to 1 with tons of resources for the little ones. So lots of stuff. Oh, Friday night teen nights with Gage Academy, which is an awesome art academy over in Georgetown. We're pretty much going 7 days a week. Swing at Seattle, host classes Mondays and Wednesdays. That's the only one that costs. But everything else free. We invite you to come on down.
And that's just Cultivate. Like, South Park is busy. Also, I don't have all of their stuff listed, but Via Comunitaria also has a suite of services going on all the time, so check out their Instagram and their website. For South Park in general, every second Tuesday of the month from 6 to 7:30 is the South Park Neighborhood Association meeting. So anyone is welcome to come. We always have some food. We get elected officials and city representatives to come out to the county, talk about different projects. The biggest things that we've been talking about recently have been the Reconnect South Park project, which is a proposal to do something about the stretch of 99 that cuts through South Park, to find a way to literally reunite the two sides of the neighborhood that were cut in half by that highway. So if you want to be a part of those discussions, we have regular visits from EPA to talk about the work that they're doing at South Park and Georgetown especially, as well as the Seattle Department of, what is it? The Environmental Protection. The federal and the city people come to the meeting to share. We have the thing that we're projecting for, the really heavy thing, is December. It's going to be the 3rd week of December. We're having South Park Neighborhood Posadas. Posadas is a Latin American tradition, replays when Joseph and Mary in the Bible were looking for a place to have baby Jesus. And traditionally, it's like a series of essentially yard parties that go around. You do the whole like knock on the door. We have no room. Please, please, please. We have no room. Then you keep going. Anyway, the public or nonprofit aspect of that, evolution of that, has become resource fairs that take place or services that are provided at various destinations along a specific route. This year, we are iterating, and so the Posadas is going to last a week. It's actually going to be the 13th to the 20th of December, starting with Cultivate South Park's Shop Local event, which is their pre-Christmas hot meals given, there's clothing distribution, there's kids activities, movie nights, there's all sorts of things that are going to be happening for that as well. So just putting that on your radar, third week of December.
Okay, I'm upset that I have to follow all of that virtually, but okay, cool, South Park killing it. The West Seattle Chamber is hosting a candidate forum on Thursday, 11:30 to 1 p.m. For the mayoral candidates. It's open to the community, so you can find that online. We're also just out in the Triangle neighborhood doing a street cleanup, of which we plan 2 more before the year is over, so we hope to see you out on that. We'll flyer the community as well. Otherwise, that's what we're working on. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot, so that was my job stuff. I live in White Center. So the White Center Solidarity Group, which is a resident-led volunteer or trying to get folks together and do projects, is doing a community cleanup, a street cleanup this Saturday, the 11th at 10 a.m., meeting in front of Fresh Flowers on Delridge. So if you're interested, if you have a reacher, grabber, and trash bag, gloves, bring them yourself. Others will have them to provide. It's a great way to meet your neighbors, do something good for the community.
Following, we're having the Fall Festival on Sunday, October 19th. And that's always a big event for us. Lots of kids, lots of families there, climbing things, animals to pet in the back, you know, for the kids and all that. So birdhouse, building activities, live music, all sorts of fun stuff. So that's Sunday, I think from 10 to 3 or 4. But if you just Google Fall Festival,
Alki is open for you to come down and join us. There's an active swimmers group on Sunday morning. You can guarantee the ocean will be cold. But it is really cool. We have a really great group of people got really enthusiastic about doing more events down on Alki, and they started part of the art walk, and I think our first art walk was middle school art, which was pretty exciting. And business owners were just so excited and so proud for that. It was really fun to see them. And we do have Halloween, I think on the Saturday, the 25th, is the 25th Saturday? Yeah, I'm thinking that. But December 18th will be our second year in reinvigorating the holiday atmosphere on the beach, so that it's a Thursday, but it's the Christmas ships, and we have a group of active young people who turn into elves and Rudolph and all kinds of things. And last year we had neighborhood businesses passing out things, so put that on your calendar to come down, because it was a lot of fun last year. But overall, we welcome people coming down and joining in with us. And our community council meetings are Thursdays, the third Thursday of the month, except for August and December. And you can find us at the alkicommunitycouncil.org online.
Quick question for you. When is that KBBQ going to open up?
I'm sorry?
The Korean.
Oh, the Korean, I saw that the other day. I don't know, soon we hope.
Check the blog.
I'm sure it's a long line.
Check the permitting office.
So can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is the meeting room at the precinct still available for community groups to use?
100%.
Okay, and so we just call the precinct to reserve it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I want to honor people's time, because I believe it is exactly 8 o'clock. You want to?
I just have to plug in advance. SPD is partnered with the DEA for a drug take-back on October 25th. The Southwest Precinct is one of the participating precincts, and then North Precinct as well. So October 25th, 10 to 2, you can bring any drugs that you want to get rid of, no questions asked. They do this in the fall and the spring as well. It's a great group.
And I believe the Southwest Precinct won last time, if I'm not mistaken.
We're gonna win again.
And you guys, we had another, well, I just want to say thank you.
Real quick, I'm so sorry. Real quick, I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here, from SPDs specifically. I just want to bring up really quickly, I have my business cards back there. Take a picture, email me. Deb, you would ask me to set something up within the next couple of weeks if you'd like to talk more specifically about West Side and things we can do just as a general community. Email me and I will find a time to facilitate just the conversation. Okay, so email me about that. I'm happy to set that up. Email me for anything else as well. Just wanted to make myself available for that. But then just to kind of close it out, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. I know Jen was very worried about it because she was at home with the baby texting me. You got everything figured out, right? So,
Boy or a girl?
good girl. Yeah, beautiful baby girl.
Must have been a surprise.
It came earlier than expected, but anyway, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for having me. Thank you very much.
Saturday, 6 Georgetown Arts Festival. Yes. Well, you are perfect. I have very nice to meet you. Oh, I appreciate the support. Yeah, so, yes,
I know, I'm like, my God, what do you want me to do? I couldn't handle that.
Here we go. So, here. Of course.
I'm fairly new in this role, but I've been with
Thank you.
Yeah, just like today is actually
that's why some of the issue with the west side, I have been heard a little bit of issues. Just trying to bring them up to speed on today.
people navigating out of
the best thing is that we know how to do with that. So that's what I'm